Have you noticed how most people live trapped in cycles of frustration, wasting energy on problems that don't concern them, trying to please those who don't care, and sabotaging themselves every day? Now imagine looking back and realizing that you've wasted years of your life because of this. The Stoics, masters at turning adversity into strength, used to say, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react that matters." What if I told you that, from now on, you can change this situation? In this video, I'll show you how to apply Stoicism seriously, without beating around the bush, to shield your mind, protect your money, and cut out everything that prevents you from growing. Here you will learn to free yourself from the opinions of others, not to let yourself be controlled by cheap emotions, to stop complaining, and to take complete control of your financial and personal life. Don't expect pretty advice or empty, motivational phrases. What you will hear here is direct, practical, and may hurt, but that is exactly what will get you out of mediocrity. If you're tired of being manipulated by fear, comparison, and negativity, it's time to take action. The Stoics didn't seek an easy life, but rather an unshakable mind in the face of difficulties. And that's what you'll achieve here. Discipline, clarity, and the power to make decisions so you don't waste any more time on things that aren't worth it. Stay with me until the end, because every lesson in this video is a weapon to master your own life. And if you want to continue receiving this type of unfiltered content, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell. Here, you will learn to be strong, free, and prosperous in the manner of the Stoics. Let's do this. Stop being a prisoner of other people's opinions. From an early age, we are conditioned to seek approval. The fear of judgment creeps into every decision we make, from the clothes we choose to the opinions we dare to express. The truth is that by trying to please everyone, we end up distancing ourselves from who we really are. The Stoics saw this pattern as an invisible prison, a cycle of anxiety and self-sabotage that only ends when we decide to break the chains. They knew that the only opinion that really matters is your own, because only you are responsible for the consequences of living a life that is not yours. Stoic philosophy teaches that we should focus only on what is within our control, because the minds of others are definitely not. You can be exemplary, act with integrity, strive to be fair, and still be criticized by some and praised by others. No matter what you do, there will always be judgments, and trying to control them is a waste of vital energy. The secret lies in redirecting that energy to what you can actually change: your own thoughts, attitudes, and choices. When you understand this, you will begin to feel a brutal and rare freedom. Stoicism is not about ignoring superficial criticism. It proposes a deep investigation. Why do you care so much? Often the fear of judgment stems from insecurity about who you are and what you value. Great Stoics, such as Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius, insisted on the need to achieve self-knowledge. Knowing what is important to you, what values underpin your decisions, is the most powerful shield against social pressure. When our choices come from within, the opinions of others become less important because we know what we are doing and why. Stoic practice also recommends a mental exercise. Anticipate the worst-case scenario. Imagine that you are being criticized, rejected, or ridiculed. Then ask yourself, would that really change who you are? Most people are so busy with their own problems that they rarely remember our mistakes, and even if they do, the impact is minimal. At the end of the day, you are the one who lives with the consequences of your choices, not those who judge you from afar. This exercise strengthens your courage to act according to your principles, even in the face of disapproval. Another key point is to understand that seeking universal acceptance is not only impossible, but also pointless. Not even admired historical figures have escaped criticism. What sets those who build an authentic life apart is their willingness to be true to themselves, even when it means going against expectations. External approval is volatile. It changes with the wind. Self-respect, on the other hand, is built on firm decisions that are aligned with your values. Ultimately, true liberation comes when we stop asking, "What will they think of me?" and start asking, "Do I respect myself with this choice?" The goal is not to be accepted by everyone, but by yourself. Only then can you achieve Stoic tranquility, that unshakable peace that does not depend on applause or criticism, but on a daily commitment to your own truth. What irritates you controls you. From the moment we wake up, we are bombarded by situations and people who test our patience. A snide comment, chaotic traffic, unfair criticism, everything seems to have the power to upset us. However, what few realize is that by getting irritated, you are handing over control of your mind to others. The Stoics understood this clearly. If something external can shake you, you are allowing your peace to be hijacked. It is not the world that irritates us, but our reaction to it. And as difficult as it may seem, that reaction is under your control. The essence of Stoicism is to separate what is under our control from what is not. The words and attitudes of others are completely beyond our control, but how we choose to respond to them is entirely up to us. When someone tries to provoke you, you are expected to react, to give as good as you get, to lose your temper. However, by acting in this way, you become predictable, easy to manipulate, and ultimately hostage to the emotions of others. True power lies in not reacting, in staying calm, and showing that no one has access to your center of balance without your permission. The Stoics did not advocate the repression of emotions, but rather mastery over them. Feeling anger, irritation, or frustration is natural. It is what they called the first movement, that automatic reaction of the body. The problem arises when you feed that impulse, when you let it grow and take over your actions. That's when rational judgment comes in. You can choose to break the cycle, take a deep breath, and analyze whether it really deserves your energy. In most cases, the answer is no. You realize that you are about to give up your peace for something insignificant and choose to move on, intact. For the Stoics, anger is a form of weakness, a sign that you have not yet mastered yourself. They believe that true strength lies in responding with kindness or simply with indifference. Imagine that someone tries to offend you, hoping you will react. If instead you smile or ignore them, they lose all power over you. It's like trying to feed a fire without wood. It goes out on its own. This attitude is not passivity, but strategy. This way, you save energy for what really matters and avoid being manipulated by fleeting emotions. Another Stoic teaching is to imagine an invisible shield around you. When someone tries to hurt you with criticism, provocation, or rudeness, imagine those words hitting the shield and falling to the ground without touching you. This visualization helps create a mental barrier, reinforcing that nothing external can affect you without your consent. If you feel irritation growing, use conscious breathing. Breathe in slowly, breathe out, and relax your body. This simple gesture interrupts the emotional escalation and gives you back control. Ultimately, it is only when we allow what irritates us to control us that we lose control. Stoic philosophy teaches that true freedom is choosing where to put our energy, what deserves our attention, and what should be ignored. It's not about being cold or indifferent to the world, but about being selective and not letting yourself be carried away by every provocation. When you learn to be in control of your reactions, no one else can throw you off balance. That's when you discover the power of being unshakable, of living lightly, without carrying the weight of other people's emotions. Break the cycle of complaining. Complaining has become an invisible addiction, a habit that creeps into our daily lives almost without us noticing. It's as if When faced with every difficulty, our first automatic response is to point the finger outward and pour our dissatisfaction into the world. The traffic is bad, the boss is unbearable, the weather isn't helping, there's never enough money. But stop and think. Have any of these complaints ever changed anything in your life? The Stoics knew that complaining solves nothing. On the contrary, it only increases feelings of helplessness, reinforces the role of victim, and steals the energy that could be used to take action. Stoic philosophy teaches that we only have two options in any situation: act or accept. If something can be changed, take action and change it. If it can't, accept it and move on. Complaining doesn't fit into either of these paths because it doesn't transform and doesn't bring peace. The problem is that complaining has become so common that we don't even realize when we're stuck in this cycle. It takes a shock of awareness to realize how much our minds have become accustomed to focusing on the negative, always looking for what is missing, what is wrong, what could be different. The great masters of Stoicism, such as Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius, warned that complaining is wasting the most precious time we have, the present. When you start complaining, you are stuck in the past or in what you cannot control. And in the meantime, real life happens, slipping through your fingers. The true Stoic does not waste time on what is beyond their reach. They focus on what they can do now with the resources they have and turn dissatisfaction into action. If you are tired, go to bed early. If you don't like your job, try to improve or change roles. If the atmosphere is heavy, distance yourself from negative people or change the focus of the conversation. Stoic practice goes beyond the simple art of avoiding complaints. It proposes a daily exercise in gratitude. Instead of looking at what you lack, look at what you have already achieved. When you feel like complaining, ask yourself, what is going well in my life right now? What do I have that many would like to have? This mental training is powerful because it shifts the focus from scarcity to abundance. Over time, you realize that life is much better than it seemed when you only saw problems. Stoicism even resorts to negative visualization. Imagine what it would be like to lose what you have today, and gratitude will arise almost automatically. Another key point is to observe your surroundings. If you are surrounded by people who only know how to complain, you will inevitably absorb that behavior. Stoics choose their company carefully, and when they cannot avoid certain environments, they change the course of the conversation. When someone starts complaining, propose a solution or change the subject. People who only want to complain will drift away, and you will be free of that destructive energy. It is not selfishness, it is self-preservation. Your energy is too valuable to be wasted on complaints that lead nowhere. Ultimately, ending the cycle of complaining is an act of courage and responsibility. It means stepping out of the role of victim and taking control of your own life. Stoics didn't deny difficulties, but they chose to face them head-on with serenity and action. When we stop complaining, we begin to see opportunities where we once saw only obstacles. And above all, you regain control over your mind, your emotions, and your destiny. The true Stoic doesn't complain. They act, accept, and give thanks. Be brutally honest with yourself. Being brutally honest with yourself is perhaps the most difficult and transformative step that Stoicism requires. We live in a society that encourages excuses, outsources blame, and feeds the illusion that we are victims of circumstances. It's easy to point the finger at your boss, the government, your family, or luck. The hardest thing is to look in the mirror and admit, if my life is not what I would like it to be, the responsibility is entirely mine. Stoics never allowed themselves to be carried away by excuses. They saw the truth, however harsh, as the only path to freedom and real growth. Radical honesty begins when we stop deceiving ourselves and face our reality without filters. This means admitting where you have failed, where you have settled, and where you have stopped taking action. It is not about blaming or martyring yourself, but about taking control. When you say, "I don't have time," Stoicism forces you to rephrase it, "I didn't prioritize it." When you think, "I can't change," Stoic philosophy challenges you to say, "I haven't tried all possible alternatives yet." This shift in mindset takes us out of the role of victim and puts us as protagonists in our own story. The Stoics knew that the truth hurts, but it also liberates. Pretending that everything is fine, making excuses for not acting, only prolongs suffering and stagnation. On the contrary, facing your own limitations and failures head-on is what opens the door to transformation. Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca faced loss, exile, and defeat, but they never failed to take responsibility for their reactions and choices. They taught that what matters most is not what happens, but how we respond. And responding honestly is the first step toward any real change. Being brutally honest does not mean exposing yourself to ridicule or self-destruction. It means accepting our imperfections, recognizing our weaknesses, and admitting our deepest desires. In a world where everyone pretends to be perfect on social media, being honest with yourself is an act of courage. It means stopping creating a facade to please others and starting to live according to what really matters. Radical honesty does not only apply to others, but above all to yourself, about what you feel, what you want, and what you are willing to do to change. From that point on, Stoicism invites action. It is not enough to recognize the truth. You must act accordingly. Choose a piece of paper and write down 3 uncomfortable truths about your life, the ones you avoid facing. Maybe it's a lack of discipline, a fear of failure, procrastination, or a dependence on approval. Choose one of them and take action today, not tomorrow. Stoicism teaches that life is too short to waste on lies we tell ourselves. Every day that passes without action is a lost day that will never return. In the end, being brutally honest with yourself is what separates those who evolve from those who remain stagnant. It is the difference between living a life of regret and building a path of pride and fulfillment. The Stoics said, if you want something good, look within yourself. Don't wait for the world to give you what only you can achieve. The truth may be uncomfortable, but it is what frees you to build a life with purpose, clarity, and real power over your own destiny. Let go of the fear of failure. The fear of failure is an invisible chain that keeps millions of people in their comfort zone. While society teaches us to avoid mistakes at all costs, Stoicism proposes a radical path: learn from failure. The Stoics understood that stumbling is not a sign of weakness, but proof that you are moving toward what really matters. Stoic philosophy begins with a disturbing question. What would happen if we viewed each failure as a laboratory for self-knowledge? Marcus Aurelius saw obstacles as opportunities in disguise. What seems to stand in your way is actually the way. When a project goes wrong, a relationship ends, or a goal slips away, Stoics see it as an opportunity to rebuild something more solid. Mistakes cease to be an end and become a starting point. The key lies in controlling the internal narrative. Epictetus taught that it is not events that hurt us, but the meaning we attach to them. Replacing "I failed" with "I discovered a way that doesn't work" completely changes the mental game. This reframing removes the moral weight of the mistake and turns it into objective data. We stop seeing ourselves as victims and take on the role of scientists testing hypotheses in real life. The Stoics practiced premeditatio malorum, or conscious visualization of the worst-case scenario. If you're afraid of failing a presentation, imagine yourself stuttering, forgetting your lines, being booed. Now ask yourself, would that kill you? Would it leave you incapacitated? In most cases, the ultimate failure is just an uncomfortable moment. This exercise is not defeatism, but emotional preparation. When we face fear head-on, it shrinks. Action is the Stoic antidote to the paralysis of fear. Seneca warned, "While we procrastinate, life passes. Every minute spent ruminating on what if is time stolen from the only place where change happens, the present." Start with small actions. Send that incomplete email, publish the draft, show the project only halfway. Stoicism does not require heroic leaps, but consistent steps. With each move, you collect data, not defeats, that adjust your route. According to the Stoic masters, the real danger is not in failure, but in the illusion of control. By accepting that 90% of the results are beyond your control, you focus your energy on the 10% that matters, your preparation, effort, and attitude in the face of the unexpected. Collecting failures ceases to be shameful and becomes a badge of courage. Each one proves that you dared to leave the audience and enter the game. In the Stoic universe, the only real failure is stagnation. Those who have never fallen have never learned to get up. Those who have never made mistakes have never discovered their limits. The fear of failure is like a foggy mirror that reflects monsters that only exist in the mind. Wash it away with constant action, rational reinterpretation, and the certainty that, even when you fall, you are writing an emotional survival manual that no one can steal. Silence is a powerful weapon. In the Stoic view, silence is not the absence of words, but the presence of control. In a world where everyone competes to be heard, speaking less becomes a revolutionary act. The Stoics understood that every wasted word is energy stolen from what really matters, acting with purpose. While most seek validation through speech, the wise Stoic gains authority through strategic silence. Stoic philosophy teaches us that mastering language is taming the mind. When someone provokes us, the immediate reaction is an animal reflex. However, pausing for 3 seconds before responding is the mark of rational humanity. Epictetus compared impulsive speech to a ship without a rudder, at the mercy of any wind. In this context, silence is the anchor that prevents emotional shipwreck. It is not about winning debates, but about avoiding unnecessary battles. The true power of silence lies in its mirror effect. By remaining silent in the face of criticism or provocation, you force the other person to confront the echo of their own insecurities. Marcus Aurelius wrote about this in his Meditations. Useless words reveal more about the speaker than about the target. In work meetings, for example, observe how those who talk too much wear themselves out, while those who listen actively and intervene only at the right moment become a reference point. The Stoics practice silence as an exercise in intellectual humility. Before expressing an opinion, they ask themselves, is it true? Is it necessary? Is it useful? This mental screening avoided futile conflicts and preserved energy for substantive discussions. On social media, in everyday conversations, in raising children, knowing when to be silent is as crucial as knowing when to speak. The Stoic pause allows us to separate noise from substance, ego from reason. Contrary to what many people think, Stoic silence is not passivity, but active vigilance. It is like watching a fire without adding fuel to it. By refraining from feeding pointless discussions, you cut off the oxygen supply to other people's negativity. Seneca warned, words are like knives. The less we use them, the sharper they become. Save them for when you can really build something, never to destroy. Incorporating silence into your routine requires daily practice. Start by identifying situations where you speak out of habit rather than necessity. Instead of giving exhausting explanations, take concrete action. If someone questions your choices, present results rather than arguments. In tense moments, take a deep breath and count to 10 in your head, as this brief pause breaks the cycle of reactivity. Over time, silence ceases to be a tactic and becomes an identity. It is not those who speak little, but those who act a lot. Don't confuse empathy with submission. Stoic empathy is not weakness, but a calculated strength. The Stoics understood that understanding the pain of others does not mean immersing oneself in it or nullifying oneself because of it. Imagine a doctor who feels compassion for a patient, but does not contract the disease. This is the essence of wise empathy. It is possible to enter another's mind, as Marcus Aurelius taught, without allowing that connection to take us away from our center. Being empathetic is recognizing shared humanity, not taking responsibility for choices that are not yours. The line between empathy and submission is broken when you trade values for approval. The Stoics practice justice as a supreme virtue, which includes treating others with dignity and demanding the same treatment. If you always give in, always listen, always forgive without reciprocity, you are violating the Stoic principle of equity. True kindness requires discernment, helping those who deserve it, guiding those who seek growth, distancing yourself from those who only drain your energy. It is not cruelty, but preservation of virtue. Learning to say no is a daily exercise. In Stoic self-preservation, when someone crosses your boundaries, a firm response is not a lack of compassion, but respect for yourself. The Stoics compared the mind to a fortress. Allowing constant invasions weakens it. Practice the strategic pause. Before responding to a request, ask yourself, does this take me further away from or closer to my best self? If the answer is the former, silence or refusal becomes an act of courage, not selfishness. Stoic justice demands that you be as generous with yourself as with others. Epictetus warned, never say I lost something, but rather I gave it back. Apply this to relationships. If someone does not value your time, your emotions, or your effort, you are not losing that person, but rather returning them to their path. Observing who walks away when you stop giving in is a natural filter for identifying emotional parasites. Balance lies in action, not in tension. Being empathetic without being submissive requires concrete gestures, setting times to help, avoiding excessive explanations when refusing something, replacing guilt with clarity. Like a Stoic general, protect your resources, time, energy, attention, as if they were valuable soldiers. Don't send them into battles that don't concern you. Unconditional charity is only virtuous when it doesn't affect your well-being. Stoic empathy culminates in self-care as a philosophical act. Seneca said, "No one can be happy if they only think of themselves, but trying to live for others without living for oneself is a path to unhappiness." Take care of others as you would a garden. Water where there is life and prune where there is decay. Being a bridge for others' growth does not mean being a road for abuse. True human connection, in the Stoic view, flourishes when there is mutual respect, not unilateral exploitation. The only real competition is against who we were yesterday. We live in a world obsessed with rankings, likes, and external metrics. From childhood, we are trained to compare grades, salaries, achievements, and even appearances. However, the Stoics discovered centuries ago that this race against others is a trap for inner peace. While society applauds those who surpass their rivals, Stoicism proposes a silent revolution. The only valid competition is against the person we were yesterday. Comparing ourselves to others is a game with no winners. Every human being has a unique history, with different genetic traits, opportunities, traumas, and contexts, making any comparison useless. The Stoics compared this to a runner who, instead, of focusing on his own lane, keeps looking around. He loses his rhythm, trips over his own feet, and diverts energy that he could use to break his own records. The true measure of progress is not in surpassing someone else, but in overcoming our own limitations day after day. Stoicism teaches us to replace the desire for external recognition with an internal pursuit of excellence. While the world shouts, "Try to be better than others," the Stoic masters whisper, "Try to be better than yourself." This does not mean complacency, but rather strategic focus. Instead of asking yourself, "How am I doing compared to my colleague?" in practice Stoic self-assessment. What have I learned since yesterday? Where did I fail, and how can I correct it? What virtue can I exercise today? Daily adjustments, such as improving 1% in terms of patience or discipline, create an invisible but transformative growth curve. A powerful Stoic exercise is the progress journal. At the end of each day, write down 3 small personal achievements. Not what you accomplished in the world, but how you acted with wisdom, courage, or fairness in everyday situations. Perhaps you managed to stay calm in an argument, resisted a temptation, or helped someone without expecting anything in return. These small victories, ignored by the world, are the building blocks of true personal mastery. Comparing them to the previous day reveals your true progress. Defining success by internal standards is an act of Stoic rebellion. While many pursue positions, possessions, or applause, the Stoic asks, "What do I consider a life well lived?" For some, it may be raising children with solid values. For others, it may be mastering a skill or maintaining serenity in chaotic times. There is no universal answer, only your truth. When we stop copying other people's scripts and write our own, the success of others ceases to be a threat and becomes curiosity, sometimes inspiration, but never a source of insecurity. The ultimate liberation comes when you realize that no one else is in your race. While you beat yourself up for not achieving X or Y, someone else is looking at your life and wishing they had what you have. The Stoics used cosmic visualization. Imagine yourself looking down at the earth from above, with billions of lives unfolding simultaneously, each at different stages. Your neighbor may have a better car, but not the resilience you have. Your boss may have more money, but not your inner peace. Competing with yourself is not selfishness, but rather taking radical responsibility for your potential, without wasting energy on what was never under your control. It's time to face the truth. Life doesn't wait, and every second we spend trapped by fear, other people's opinions, or empty complaints is a second we'll never get back. Stoics have always known that power lies in their hands. It doesn't matter what happens around you, but what you do about it. You can choose to be a hostage to circumstances or decide to be the protagonist of your own story. Every lesson you've heard here isn't just theory. It's a call to action. No more excuses, no more waiting for the perfect moment. The moment is now. You've learned that no one is going to live your life for you, that complaining solves nothing, that fear of failure is just a ghost created by your mind, and that silence can be your greatest weapon. You have understood that being good is not being naive, and that the only real competition is against the person you were yesterday. Each of these ideas is a key to unlocking the doors you have placed in your own way. The Stoics did not seek perfection, but daily improvement. They knew that progress happens in every small choice, in every decision not to give in to what adds nothing. Now look at everything you've heard. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to let these words pass you by like any other video, or are you going to transform your life starting today? Don't wait for someone to save you. Stoicism is brutal because it puts all the responsibility in your hands, but it is liberating because it shows you that you can change everything, starting now. There is no magic formula. There is daily action, courage to face discomfort, and Discipline to not give up when things get tough. If you've made it this far, you're already ahead of most people. Most people run away from the truth, live on excuses, and settle for less. But not you. You chose to learn, reflect, and seek something greater. So don't stop here. Write in the comments which of these lessons you will apply first, or if you prefer, just write, "I am grateful," to show that you are committed to your evolution. This is more than a video, it is a pact with yourself. If this content made sense to you, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. That way, you won't miss any new lessons and will continue to advance on the path to self-mastery. Share this video with someone who needs to hear these truths and help spread the Stoic philosophy to more people. Remember, change doesn't come from what you know, but from what you do with what you know. The next step is yours. See you in the next video.